What's up guys, it is Chris back with another watch unboxing slash review. This is a watch that I have worn many times. It is the VAER A12 Dirty Dozen. So it's a 36 millimeter hand wound ETA powered watch that comes in the exact same packaging that all VAER come in. They come in this sort of canvas cardboard box, and inside you get a strap. And I think this is on the rubber strap. I think currently it's on the rubber strap, but I'll also throw it on this leather strap that they threw in here to take a look at it on also. Inside, you just get two boxes, like I said, and then there's just a little information on the watch itself, and a little booklet. This little card right here, it says the Movement Operation Guide, and that is for the ETA 7001. So this gets an ETA movement. It is the 7001, which is a very nice movement. I've had a few watches on the channel with that movement in it, and I have to say I'm always impressed with it. I think it's a really good looking movement, obviously a very well made movement. It is an ETA, and I just like it. So this is the black strap. I believe this is a Horween leather strap. And I'm going to put all the boxes aside, and then we'll zoom in closer to take a look at the watch. So here is the A12. That 12 in the A12 name obviously refers to the Dirty Dozen. This is a 36 millimeter watch. Now the Dirty Dozen were 12 watches that were commissioned by the Allies during World War II. Very important watches, helped the Allies win the war. And there were 12 different brands who actually manufactured those watches. Now they all looked pretty similar. However, the specific one that they actually reference on their website was an Eterna. As you guys know, I'm a huge fan of Eterna. Eterna were one of the Dirty Dozen, so they do have a very long history. And it looks very similar to this watch. It has that railroad seconds that goes all the way around. The numerals, very, very similar as well. You don't get that little broad arrow that's at the below the VAER, and I believe that's because it's not technically a military watch, so they didn't use that. And then you get small seconds right there at the 6 o'clock. 36 millimeters, as I mentioned, so this is a very nicely sized watch. 36 millimeters. Now, for a smaller wrist, this definitely wears very well. On my wrist, I think I could just pull it off, just about 9.4 millimeters. That's including a dome sapphire crystal, by the way. So this does get a dome sapphire crystal, and you get a little bit of distortion on here, and that is nice because it sort of looks like the acrylic crystal that would have been on one of the Dirty Dozen, and a 43 millimeter lug to lug. Really, really good. The crown is huge for this size case. 6.8 millimeters on a 36 millimeter watch. Very, very, very big. Very easy to grip, very easy to operate, and very easy to wind. 7001 really needs no introduction, but they really do have a nice version of it here. It's completely finished. You have blue screws, you have Geneva striping. It looks really good on this watch. I really do like it. As a screwed-in case back, you don't get a screwed-in crown. So currently this is on the rubber strap, as you can see. It's sort of like a Barton strap, if you guys are familiar with that. It has curved or molded ends. It's not actually molded to the case, it's molded to your wrist. So they are very comfortable. You have quick release as well. However, this is the leather strap. This is a Horween leather strap made in the United States. I'm going to switch it out really quickly so you guys can see. It's black as well, but I think it looks a little bit better because it actually tapers, and I think it looks more vintage on this vintage sized case. So very quickly, let me throw this strap on, and then we'll continue the video. So here it is on the Horween in black. And you can see it looks a little bit more vintage with this style strap on it. I think it would look also really good with a brown Horween strap. It just looks good. It just works. 36 millimeters. I'm going to throw it on my wrist so you guys can see. Both of them get the same buckle though. They both get the VAER buckle. It's just a milled buckle that is signed VAER right there. It's a nice little buckle. Pretty robust, nothing too crazy though. And then, of course, as I mentioned before in other videos with VAER, they are assembled here in the United States. However, this gets a Swiss movement, so technically assembled here in the United States using a Swiss movement. So kind of best of both worlds. I really like that as well. So very quickly, I'm going to throw it on my wrist. We'll talk a little bit about price, and then we will do a Lume shot because it does get Lume. I'm not sure how the Lume is on this watch. It is meant to be a vintage watch, but let's find out. Very quickly, before we do, today I am wearing Tsunami. This is a new brand that is from the makers of Radcliffe, and it is a really cool dive watch with some Tiffany blue accents, very popular right now. Very interesting buckle as well. The buckle is sort of a Omega clone. You get that dive extension, which is a really nice dive extension. Very interesting choice. I have not seen an Omega style buckle like this on a watch outside of Omega, of course. So 36 millimeters on the Horween strap here, 43 millimeters lug to lug, and only 9 and change thickness. So it is a very thin watch as well. You can see I have a 7.5 inch wrist. Now, it does wear slightly small on my wrist. I think it looks a little bit small for me. Now, I have a 7.5 inch wrist. Would I wear this? Absolutely, because I have already. I've worn it plenty of times on the rubber strap. I haven't worn it on the Horween because it's not my watch and I don't want to really break this in too much. I don't think they'll probably use it again, but either way, I've been wearing it on the rubber just to be kind, and I think it looks much better on this strap, but it is very comfortable on the other strap, and this will take a little time to break in. I think it feels a little bit bigger on this strap than it did on the rubber strap as well, because of those the fact that it doesn't taper, and it doesn't really make the case look bigger. It actually makes the case kind of look smaller because of it's the fact that it doesn't taper, if that makes sense. But in general, I think it looks good on my wrist. Like I said, I've been wearing it, and I think it's a very comfortable watch. It's a very good looking watch. I did find myself taking it off my wrist very often when I was wearing it and looking at the movement, because I really do love the movement on this watch. I really don't own a watch currently with a 7001, and I want one. I think it's a really cool movement. I think it's good looking. I featured a Zelos, I think, that had one. It was the Nova. That was actually pretty expensive. This is actually not that bad. This is $899, but when you sign up for an email with them, they usually give you about 20% off. So this would come over just right over $700 for this watch, and I think that's an excellent price considering that you're getting a 7001, which is kind of a rare movement now. They're actually hard to get. But very quickly, let's do a Lume shot, and then I will wrap up the video. So very nicely loomed. You have all of the indices are loomed, so everything is printed, obviously. And then you have, there is a track that goes around that railroad track. Nothing on the small seconds is loomed, but the hands are loomed and all of the numerals are loomed. So there is a good amount of surface area that is loomed, so you get a pretty bright loom from this watch, and it's actually decently applied. Not very liberally applied, but it is decently applied, so it's hanging on and it is pretty bright. $899, as I mentioned, but if you sign up with an email, when you go on their website, they offer a discount immediately, which I think is really good. And if you are thinking about getting a watch from VAER, always sign up with a new email so you get that discount. And it definitely is a really good incentive to buy a watch. I think this is a really good price. I think all of their watches are priced well. And then, of course, if you can get a discount, that's always good. And I think that they make very high quality products, obviously assembled in the United States, so you really can't go wrong. And I really do like this watch. And like I said, I found myself flipping this over quite often. I will be very sad to see this watch go. But and there's one other thing to be said. I mean, if you were in the market for a Dirty Dozen watch, you would have to buy a vintage version. They aren't very reliable. You can get them for a pretty good price, in the thousands, depending on which one you wanted to get. I've seen some Eternas actually sell for a pretty good amount of money, but they are very unreliable because they're very old watches. And if you want something that you could wear every day that gives you that, you know, Dirty Dozen vibe, and this obviously does because it is essentially the same looking watch, this is a really great option. I think it's a really great option if you're in the market for something that's 36 millimeters, especially. They went, you know, pretty faithful. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of this watch? What do you think of VAER? What do you think of the Dirty Dozen? Tell me down below. I want to hear from you guys. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel. I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.